السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد، فنتابع القراءة في كتاب الأدب المفرد للإمام محمد بن إسماعيل البخاري رحمه الله. باب إذا نصح العبد لسيده. حدثنا إسماعيل قال حدثني مالك عن نافع عن عبد الله بن عمر أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: إن العبد إذا نصح لسيده وأحسن عبادة ربه عز وجل فله أجره مرتين. So we talked about how Imam al-Bukhari, when talking about the etiquettes, the good characters, he started about one being dutiful to his parents, then taking care of his family, his wife, his kids, his relatives, and then taking care of the servants that he's responsible for. And last time we talked about how one should feed his servants, people work for him, and clothe them the same way that he eat and clothe. And that should apply also to a lot of bosses, employers, and so on. They should give their employees living wages that they can live with in a respectable life. Now it's the other way around. What's the responsibility of the servant towards his employer or his boss? A lot of the hadith relates to the master and the servant. It applies to boss and employee. In this hadith, this is, a lot of people consider it the golden chain. Malik an Nafi' an Ibn Umar. So this is the top scholars. Malik ibn Anas, the scholar of Medina. Nafi' was one of the students of Ibn Umar and was a top scholar, and from Ibn Umar. So these are three best of narrations. A lot of ulama say this is a golden narration. Whenever you find it, this is a mine of gold. So he reported that Rasulullah ﷺ says that a servant, if he's truthful to his master, to his boss, and he worshipped his Lord Azza wa Jal excellently, he'll get double reward. So he's done his duties towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's done duties to his boss. If he does that for the sake of Allah, he gets double reward. It helps the relation. So the relation is not exploitation from boss to employee, and it's not taking advantage from employee to boss. You do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Both of them fear Allah. Both of them will be rewarded for that. And there is a lot of ahadith, different narrations in the same meaning. باب العبد راع. حدثنا إسماعيل بن أبي أويس قال حدثني مالك عن عبد الله بن دينار عن ابن عمر أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته، فالأمير الذي على الناس راع وهو مسؤول عن رعيته، والرجل راع على أهل بيته وهو مسؤول عن رعيته، وعبد الرجل راع على مال سيده وهو مسؤول عنه، ألا كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. So this is narration. Also you have top scholars in it. Imam Malik, he narrates from Abdullah ibn Dinar. Abdullah ibn Dinar was also one of the prominent scholars of Tabi'een, the students of the Sahaba. And he was not only known for his ilm, but for his zuhd. And he narrates from Ibn Umar. So you have three scholars, top scholars, narrating that Rasulullah ﷺ said. This is an important hadith, one of the pillars of interactions between people. كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. You all are all responsible, in charge, and you are accountable for what you're responsible for. A leader, it's going to be a king, a sultan, a president, anyone in authority, is responsible, makes sense, and مسؤول عن رعيته, he will be questioned about what he's in charge of. This is clear. But the man is also in charge of his house, and he's responsible, he's accountable for his responsibility. And the servant is also in charge on the money of his boss, and he's responsible for it. All of you are responsible, and you all are going to be questioned about your responsibility. There's another narration talking about the woman also being responsible in her house and will be accountable and questioned about her responsibility. So the question here that a lot of people jump into questioning, noisy, right? Yeah. So maybe the AC, if we can make it over.
This one is the fan.
Yeah. So a lot of people jump into questioning responsibility of others, and they forgot about their own responsibility. They say, look at the king, look at the president, look at the prime minister, look at this, look at that. They're not honest, they're stealing from us. How about you? Your responsibility. Have you done your responsibility on your own house? وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَاسِقُونَ. So multiple narrations, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying those who do not rule by the book of Allah, they will be either kafir or zalim or fasiq. Does it say it's for the leaders? Everybody. If you don't rule by the rules of Allah, what you're capable of. You're not going to be responsible for things beyond your ability, but things that you have the choice. You make the choice. I can choose to follow the orders of Allah, or I choose not to. If you choose not to, حَكَمَ بِمَا لَمْ يُنزِلِ اللَّهِ. So your response is, I will choose what pleases Allah if I have that responsibility and power. There are things you have no choice for. You cannot force people to do the right thing. But you, yourself, your family, your immediate responsibility, you're responsible for it. And this one, in this chapter, it relates about one that's in charge of his boss' money. He will be accountable for it. Just because it's the company's money or the big man money doesn't mean you have the right to waste it. Oh, the company doesn't pay me fair, so I'm gonna waste their money, I'm gonna keep the lights on, I'm gonna waste this paper, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna steal something from the office and do something like this, I'm gonna stick it back to the man. No, you're honest, even if the other person is not, you keep your responsibility, because at the end, you're accountable for Allah. And as I said, if you do your duties correctly, you'll be rewarded double. باب لا يقول عبدي حدثني محمد بن عبيد الله حدثني ابن أبي حازم عن العلاء عن أبيه عن أبي هريرة عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يقل أحدكم عبدي أمتي كلكم عبيد الله وكل نسائكم إماء الله وليقل غلامي جاريتي فتايا وفتاتي. So in this hadith, Rasulullah ﷺ is describing the etiquette, even addressing at that time when they had slaves, he said, don't call their slaves. They're not abd, they're not your slave. They don't have to obey of you for a man or a girl. You are all slaves to Allah. Say, this is the boy that's serving me or the girl that's serving me, but don't say my slave. Don't say abdi, amati. Kullukum ibadullah. We all are slaves to Allah subhanahu, reminding that the power is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Allah puts somebody in charge of another person, doesn't mean because you are better than person, this is what the test. Some are tested with power and responsibility, some are tested with how to respond and how to take care of their duties. باب الرجل راع في أهله. حديث فيه شيء قريب مما ذكرناه. كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته، فالأمير راع وهو مسؤول، والرجل راع على أهله وهو مسؤول، والمرأة راعية على بيت زوجها وهي مسؤولة، ألا وكلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. There's another hadith, different narrations in the same meaning, that you all are in charge, you all are accountable for your responsibility. A leader, an emir, is in charge, he's going to be accountable. A man in charge of his house, he's accountable. A woman in charge of her house, she's accountable. All of you are in charge, you are all accountable. In relates to it, there is another hadith that explain it further. حدثنا مسدد حدثنا اسماعيل حدثنا أيوب عن أبي قلابة عن أبي سليمان مالك بن الحويرث قال: أتينا النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ونحن شبابة متقاربون، فأقمنا عنده 20 ليلة، فظن أن اشتهينا أهلنا، فسألنا عمن تركنا في أهلنا فأخبرناه، وكان رفيقا رحيما، فقال: ارجعوا إلى أهليكم فعلموهم ومروهم وصلوا كما رأيتموني أصلي، فإذا حضرت الصلاة فليؤذن لكم أحدكم وليؤمكم أكبركم. So in this narration, the Sahabi Abu Sulaiman Malik ibn al-Huwayrith, he said, we came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and we were youth, and group of us, we are in the same age. They came from their tribes, went to Medina, stayed with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about 20 days. They learned from him the important aspects of deen. And then Rasulullah sallam, he looked at them, he felt that they are homesick. So asked him, where do you live? Who is your family? And so on. So I think you want to go back. Said, yes, I want to go back. So he advised them, go back to your family and teach them. And order them, that is, to do what is good. And pray the same way you saw me pray. And when the prayer is due, one of you should make the adhan and the eldest of you should lead you. We know that the imam should be the one that has more Quran, and if they're equal, the one has more of the sunnah, and then if they're equal, they go with the one who's older. In this aspects, they're about the same knowledge. They all stay 20 days with Rasulullah sallam. So they probably learned Fatiha, a few ayat and so on. So there wasn't anybody that's more knowledgeable. So he told, okay, the older among you should be the one leading the salah. But here it's telling you about the responsibility. When they go back to their family, they teach them. So this is a responsibility, man. It's not about ordering around. It's not bossing around. It's about teaching. Teaching verbally with word and with actions, being a good role model.
And the hadith of كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول, when it comes to a person, like a son or daughter, to the parents, is the father more deserving of obedience, or is the mother, especially if there's like a conflict? Is the son or daughter supposed to obey the father first or the mother, especially because of the hadith of your mother, then your mother.
Yes, yeah. So when it comes to obedience order, the father comes first. He's in charge of the house. When it comes of matter of dedicating your time, your love, and so on, the mother is more deserving. So when your parents both alive and you want to do good for them, you want to keep your connection with them, the mother needs that affection more than the father. But when it comes who's in charge, the father is in charge. باب من صنع إليه معروف فليكافئه. حدثنا سعيد بن عفير قال حدثني يحيى بن أيوب عن عمارة بن غزية عن شرحبيل مولى الأنصار عن جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: من صنع إليه معروف فليجزي به، فإن لم يجد ما يجزيه فليثني عليه، فإنه إذا أثنى عليه فقد شكره، وإن كتمه فقد كفره، ومن تحلى بما لم يعطى فكأنما لبس ثوبي زور. So now we're moving to a different chapter. So you took care of your parents, of your family, of the servants, and the relation between the boss and employee. Now about if somebody done good to you, what should you do? you should reward that person. In this narration, Rasulullah ﷺ says, if somebody done something good for you, you should reward them. If you don't have anything to reward them, praise them. If you praise them, you have thanked them. If you hide it, you don't show your gratitude to them, then this is kufr, the favor. Kufr, he means to cover it. That means you deny it. It's not kufr that he left the religion. The word kafar in Arabic means to cover. And the kafir is the one that covers the truth. This is what kafir. But in this meaning, it doesn't mean kufr that he left the deen. It means the kufr that he's not grateful for the favor. And whoever claim that he's been gifted or favored with something he hasn't been gifted, then he's somebody who's wearing fool's clothes. So somebody claiming, oh, I've been given this, I have this. And some people who brag about things they don't have, they're lying. But in the first part of it, about you reward people who have done good for you, if you cannot do materially, you do it verbally. You thank them. And we'll come to other ahadith, how we can do it. حدثنا مسدد حدثنا أبو عوانة عن الأعمش عن مجاهد عن ابن عمر قال قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من استعاذ بالله فأعيذوه ومن سأل بالله فأعطوه ومن أتى إليكم معروفا فكافئوه فإن لم تجدوا فادعوا له حتى تعلموا أن قد كافأتموه. In this narration, also we have prominent scholars in it. A'mash was one of the prominent scholars of hadith. Mujahid was one of the scholars of tabi'een. Narrates from Ibn Umar, one of the knowledgeable Sahaba, that Rasulullah ﷺ said, whoever seek refuge in Allah and wants you to give him refuge, protect him. That means lawfully. You're not going to protect a criminal. Criminals should be brought to justice. But if somebody fearing for his life from a tyrant, from people who want to oppress them unjustly, and you have the power to protect that poor person, you should do it for the sake of Allah. Whoever asks you by Allah, give them. That means they ask you rightly, they're deserving of it, and you're able to provide it. And whoever done something good for you, you should reward them. If you cannot reward them, then make dua for them enough until you feel that you have rewarded them for their favor.
Oh, sir. No. I heard something, I don't know whether it's a hadith or not, like if your brother in Islam have done something wrong, help him. So what context does it mean?
Yeah. أعن أخاك ظالما أو مظلوما. You should always help your brother, whether he's right or wrong. Right, it's easy. Needs help, you do it. Wrong, by stopping him from doing the wrong. So this is the response. If you see your brother going on the wrong path, he's oppressing people, he's lying, he's stealing, he's cheating, and so on, you should stop him. If you have an authority to do that, you do it. If not, then you advise them. You keep reminding him to stop, and you help him against the shaitan. So he will not follow shaitan and go further and further away. People make mistakes. If you help them come back, you help them. But the longer a person gets more and more into making sins and mistakes, the further they're away, it's harder for them to come back. So this is how you help them. You bring them back. باب من لم يشكر الناس. حدثنا موسى بن إسماعيل حدثنا الربيع بن مسلم حدثنا محمد بن زياد عن أبي هريرة عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لا يشكر الله من لا يشكر الناس. أخرجه أحمد وأبو داود والترمذي والبيهقي وابن حبان وقال الترمذي حديث حسن صحيح. هذا حديث مشهور يعني اشتهر بين الناس وهو صحيح. لا يشكر الله من لم يشكر الناس. This hadith, short, but it tells you, if you don't show gratitude to people, you don't show gratitude to Allah. You don't have that shukr, being thankful. If you're not thankful to Allah, if you're not thankful to people, it means you have, because why would a person not be thankful? Because they think they're entitled or they're arrogant. They think, oh, I deserve it. If somebody help them, I deserve it. Get money, I deserve it. Your parent do something for good, of course, I'm the son, they have to do it for me. Your employer rewarded you. Whatever happens to you, if you feel entitled to it, you don't feel the gratitude. If you don't do that, you're not going to feel gratitude towards Allah. If somebody is grateful to Allah, he's going to be grateful to anybody who's done anything good for them. As simple as somebody opening the door for you in the masjid. Jazakallahu khairan. So, yeah. So you need, it's an attitude. An attitude, feeling you are not entitled. Everything that we get in this life is a blessing. Blessing from Allah. And sometimes Allah uses other humans to help us and to gift us. So we need to be grateful to the person who's done good to you, and this way we show gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He did not put the hadith in it, maybe because it's so famous. If you cannot reward somebody, you say, Jazak Allahu khaira. May Allah reward you good. If you cannot reward them, then you turn it to Allah and Allah responds to you. Remember the dua that you make for your brother, the angels say Ameen. And you have similar to it. Especially if you do it in his back. You say it in his front, in front of him, so you show your gratitude to her. But also do it when he's not around. You say, oh Allah, reward that brother khair, jazahullahu khaira. He helped me. He was kind to me. I needed the guidance. I needed help. I needed a loan. I needed something. He did it. You say, Allahumma jzihi khaira. You make dua for him, for barakah, protect him, give him health, protect his family, and so on. They will get it, and you will get similar to it. The angels will say, Ameen. So inshallah, we'll stop here in this chapter. So we'll move on to reading more about fiqh as-salah. باب التشهد الأخير وكان صلى الله عليه وسلم يأمر فيه ما أمر في الأول ويصنع ما كان يصنع في الأول إلا أنه كان يقعد فيه متوركا. So the last tashahhud, after somebody prayed, if it is more than 2 rak'ah, 3 or 4 rak'ah, so the last tashahhud, he will do the same with the first tashahhud. At-tahiyyat, then at-tashahhud, then salawat al-ibrahimiyyah. And we say in the first tashahhud, one should see it, salat al-ibrahimiyyah. A lot of people don't, but it is part of the tashahhud. So you read all of that. But if it is a 3rd or 4th rak'ah, he will sit on his left hip, touching ground, rather than his hip touching his foot. His hip would touch the ground. We said if there is space for it. You're not going to be pushing and forcing people around you, pushing around just you do that. Not harming Muslims is more important. الصلاة على النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في التشهد الأخير وهي واجبة. And saying salah on the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم is a wajib. عن ابن مسعود الأنصاري قال أتانا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ونحن نجلس في مجلس سعد بن عبادة فقال له بشير بن سعد أمرنا الله تعالى أن نصلي عليك يا رسول الله فكيف نصلي عليك؟ قال فسكت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم حتى تمنينا أنه لم يسأل ثم قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قولوا اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد والسلام كما علمتم. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked once that how we say salah on you. He taught him that. So the most common, there are different ways of doing it, and this is all sunnah. So this is, you have the choice. This is the most common one. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. So this is the most common form, the one that's used. But there are other forms. وسمع صلى الله عليه وسلم رجل يدعو في صلاته لم يمجد الله تعالى ولم يصلي على النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال عجل هذا ثم دعاه فقال له ولغيره إذا صلى أحدكم فليبدأ بتحميد ربه جل وعز والثناء عليه ثم يصلي على النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ثم يدعو بما شاء. And then Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم, he saw one in his prayer. He just right away asked Allah subhanahu whatever he want, without praising Allah, without making the salah on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he called him and he taught him and everybody else. So when you are making salah, making dua, you praise Allah, you make salah on the Prophet, then you ask Allah whatever that you need to ask him. So we said in the first tashahhud, last tashahhud, you say التحيات لله والصلوات والطيبات السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين فإنه إذا قال ذلك أصاب كل عبد صالح في السماء والأرض أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله قال عبد الله وهو بين ظهرانينا فلما قبض قلنا السلام على النبي. So the first one, التحيات لله والصلوات والطيبات. We know that this is تحيات. السلام عليك أيها النبي. The Prophet, the Sahaba used to say it when he was alive. When he died, they say السلام على النبي. السلام عليك أيها النبي. We making salam you, the Prophet, addressing him when he was alive. When he died, say السلام على النبي. So you see some scholars, they still keeping the first terminology that Rasulullah told them. Some scholars say, well, the Sahaba heard it, but then they understood after his death, they're going to say, we make a salam on you, Prophet. We make the salam on the Prophet because he's not present anymore. The other version, التحيات المباركات الصلوات الطيبات لله. Same meaning, but different version. Say التحيات لله والصلوات والطيبات. Say التحيات المباركات الصلوات الطيبات لله. Yeah. Same meaning, different wordings. سلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته سلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله وفي رواية عبده ورسوله. So the same meaning, different slight change in the wording. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. We ask Allah to have peace for you and all the good pious worshippers of Allah. Because they used to say Assalamu ala Jibreel, Assalamu ala Mikael. They started counting the angels. Rasulullah told them, it's enough to say Assalamu alayna wa ala ibadillahi salihin. All of them, angels, humans, everybody that's good, you give him salam. No.
Is it, I've heard, is it true that this part is from the Isra when Prophet, peace be upon him, went into heavens, and this was taught to him by Allah?
Yeah. So the salah was obligated during the Isra, al-Mi'raj. Isra is from moving at night from Mecca to Jerusalem. Mi'raj going from Jerusalem above Mi'raj. Yeah, it's the day of Isra, but it's the actual Mi'raj. Mi'raj when they were up in heaven. This is when salah was ordered, and the details of it was ordered.
And in this particular part, though, was
I don't know that part. You would consider it. I haven't read anything that it was specifically decreed at that night, but we know the whole salah. So it's you can conclude that, but I don't know if there's a specific text to that meaning.
Oh, see, one more question. When you mentioned when you're doing
Moving the finger.
when you're doing it for the first two rakats, you sit on your hip,
your hip on your foot.
Yeah. The last one you sit
your hip on the ground. Yes.
How about is for Fajr Salah?
Yeah. So you because it's only 2 rak'ah, so you don't do hip on the ground.
Just
still, hip on the foot.
Okay.
Yes. And then when say tashahhad ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, you can add to it wahdahu la sharika lah. وأشهد أن محمد رسول الله or أشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. All has been narrated from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So we said the one way of saying salah on the Prophet, we said it. There are other narration. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته وعلى أزواجه وذريته كما صليت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد وبارك على محمد وعلى آل بيته وعلى أزواجه وذريته كما باركت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. So he's making dua to Allah will have mercy on Muhammad وعلى أهل بيته وأزواجه وذريته. So here you're more inclusive for it, أهل بيته, and to remind that his wives and his children is considered أهل بيته. So it's not like only his uncles and cousins and so on. All of them are his family. كما صليت على آل إبراهيم. So he didn't mention كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم, just saying وعلى آل إبراهيم. A lot of the scholars saying that the status of Rasulullah sallam is higher than all the prophets. But the family of Ibrahim has status more than any other family afterward because they all were prophets. So you have Ishaq, you have Yaqub, you have Yusuf, and then the Anbiya of Bani Israel. So you don't have Anbiya from the descendants of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that's why you're making salah that his family will be blessed and mercy on them the same way the family of Ibrahim. Hamid, Majid. So this is how you're describing Allah. Hamid is worthy of praise. Majid, the one that has all the glory. So when you comprehend this meaning, it's not just words you're uttering. That's Allah is worth of praising, and Islam is worthy of being glorified. Another narration, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad, kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim, innaka hamidun majid. So put hamidun majid after the first sentence, and then put it again after the second sentence. Allahumma barik ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad, kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim, innaka hamidun majid. So instead of putting hamidun majid at the end, you put it in the middle and at the end. So all of them are authentic narrations. اللهم صل على محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. So here describing, adding to it, Muhammad al-Nabi al-Ummi, the illiterate prophet. He himself never read any of the old revelation and old texts. So everything that he knows is teaching from Allah. This is in response, a lot of people accuse him, oh, you're reading the Old Testament, New Testament, you're reading the Bible, and you are making your own translation. It wasn't. He was illiterate. He didn't know these books. And plus, the stories in the Quran are more perfected than and correcting what's mentioned in the Bible. A lot of the stories of the prophets were corrupted in the Bible, the Old Testament, New Testament, and the Quran correct them in a version that mentioned things that were not mentioned in it. My understanding that the Christian don't have in it as the miracles of Jesus that he spoke when he was a baby. And this miracle is mentioned in the Quran in multiple places. So if somebody copying the Bible, he would not mention that because it's not mentioned in the Bible. And so on. There's a lot of other stories. There's at least another two versions in different wordings. But so if you understand that somebody wants to make the salah on Rasulullah sallam, salah al-Ibrahimiyya, there are different ways of doing it. And if you memorize more than one way, that would help you. You can alternate, help you keep focused rather than uttering the words and they become as a habit and not being mindful of the meaning. الاستعاذة من أربعة قبل الدعاء لحديث أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إذا تشهد أحدكم فليستعذ بالله من أربع يقول اللهم إني أعوذ بك من عذاب جهنم ومن عذاب القبر ومن فتنة المحيا والممات ومن شر فتنة مسيح الدجال أخرجه مسلم. So once you finish tahiyyat, tashahhud and salawat al-Ibrahimiyya, before you finish or make whatever make dua, you need to ask Allah to protect you from four things. You want Allah to protect you from the torment of hellfire, the torment in the grave, the tribulations and trials in life and death, and the tribulations and trials of al-Masih al-Dajjal, the false Messiah. So you always ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect you from these four things. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min adhabi jahannam, wa a'udhu bika min adhabi al-qabr, wa a'udhu bika min fitnati al-mahya wal-mamat, wa a'udhu bika min sharri fitnati al-Masih al-Dajjal. You always say it. There are different wordings to the same meanings.
Yeah.
Now,
when it comes to making dua and salah, does it have to be in Arabic only, or can it be in like English or whatever language someone speaks?
it's best in Arabic, but if you don't, since dua is different from dhikr, you can make it in your own language. If somebody only learned enough words to say the important dhikr in salah and is still learning in his religion, new to it, then he can make the dua in his language. In Arabic, it's more preferred, because especially if you make dua that Rasulullah ﷺ has done, so make sure it is correct and you're getting extra reward following the sunnah of Rasulullah ﷺ. If somebody cannot do it, they can make it in their language.
شيخ التعوذ من هذه الأربعة أشياء هل الترتيب مهم فيهم أم المهم أربعة؟
في عدة صيغ كل هذه الصيغ أتت بهذا الترتيب: الاستعاذة من جهنم، الاستعاذة من عذاب القبر، الاستعاذة من فتنة المحيا والممات، والاستعاذة من شر فتنة المسيح الدجال. إذا أخطأ يقبل منه، لكن يحاول أن يحافظ على الترتيب. He's saying, do you need to have them in this order? First, you ask protection from hellfire, then from torment of the grave, then tribulation of life and death, then the tribulation of Masih al-Dajjal. So this is the hadith I was mentioned. It's better to keep it, but if you change it, then Allah still subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept it from you. But to follow exactly the sunnah, you better keep it in that order. وكان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يعلمه الصحابة رضي الله عنهم كما يعلمهم السورة من القرآن. And the narration that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told the Sahaba this dua the same way he taught him the surah in Quran. So that tells you that the order is important, but it is not Quran. So if somebody made a mistake, it's valid, but you want to get the reward, you want to keep it the order. So this is important. If he taught him that the same way he taught Quran, that means you keep repeating it and make sure that they've done it and they've done it right. الدعاء قبل السلام وأنواعه. نعم.
يجوز هذا السؤال تحت هذا الباب.
نعم.
بس هذا الدعاء هو يقال عقب الصلاة، يقصد به قبل السلام أم بعد السلام؟
قبل السلام، بعد التحيات والتشهد والصلوات الإبراهيمية، قبل أن يبدأ بأي دعاء آخر، قبل أن يسلم يقول يستعيذ بهذه الأربع ثم يدعو بما شاء. So he's saying that this, when you ask Allah to protect in these four things, this is after you finish the salawat al-Ibrahimiyya. And before you're making other dua, this is before taslim, before saying assalamu alaikum. That's of course, if you are the imam, you give enough time for people to do it. Or you are ma'mum and the imam giving you ample time. Or you are praying for your own. If the imam is in a rush and you barely say salawat al-Ibrahim, they say salamu alaikum, you say salamu alaikum, because that's the minimum wajib. This making the dua is something highly encouraged when you have time for it. If you don't have time for it, your salah is done. الدعاء قبل السلام وأنواعه. اللهم ذكرنا هذه الاستعاذة ويزيد عليها وأعوذ بك من المأثم والمغرم. They ask Allah to protect you from things that leads to sin, that will be considered sinful, and things that lead you to lose. Maghram is to be in debt, that means you lose money. So things that will make you lose in the hereafter and in this life. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من شر ما عملت ومن شر ما لم أعمل بعد. Ask Allah protect you from the wrongs, the evil of what you have done and the things you haven't done yet. So things in the past, things in the future, ask Allah to give you refuge over it. That is to protect you, forgive you for the past, and protect you from being responsible for it. That means to forgive you. And in the future to protect you from committing it, and if you happen to commit it, that He will forgive you. اللهم حاسبني حسابا يسيرا فمن أوتي كتابه بيمينه فسوف يحاسب حسابا يسيرا. So in this dua is following the ayah when Allah talking about the people who get their book in the right hand, they'll be accountable and easy accounting. حسابا يسيرا. So you make dua to Allah. Allahumma hasibni hisaban yasira. Allah, make my accountability easy. من نوقش الحساب فقد عذب. If you are questions for every details you've done, you're going to be punished. So you ask hisab yasir, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive everything bad, and He will count you only for the good thing. That He will reward you for the best that you have done, and forgive all the sins you've done. This is al-hisab al-yasir. It's like you have an employee at the end of the year. If you like him, you only mention the good things. Oh, you helped us with that presentation. There was somebody who's sick, and then you volunteered. You said, oh, for this we're going to reward you. Now you tell, oh, that day you were late 10 minutes. There was another day you called off, and there's a few days you found you asleep. You did not finish this one. It's like you like him, you're going to just pick the bright minutes of the year. If you don't like him, you're still going to pick on everything. You say, but I helped you in that presentation. Yes, you helped that presentation. But how about this one? You broke the instrument. This one you didn't attend. This one, and so on. You started questioning him. Okay, this is nothing compared. So hisaban yasira, you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to go easy on you. وعلم أبا بكر الصديق رضي الله عنه أن يقول اللهم إني ظلمت نفسي ظلما كثيرا ولا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت فاغفر لي مغفرة من عندك وارحمني إنك أنت الغفور الرحيم. It's important dua. Rasulullah sallam, he taught it to who? To the best of his friends, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. So it has to be something good. He's not going to teach him like he teach everybody else. But it wasn't a secret. He taught it to everyone, Abu Bakr. This is why how we know it. He said, Allahumma inni zalamtu nafsi zulman kathira. You say it. You first admit to Allah that you have done injustice to yourself a lot. Allahumma inni zalamtu nafsi zulman kathira. When you do something wrong, first you do that wrong against yourself. You never can do wrong against Allah, but you do it against yourself. You do somebody else wrong, before that wrong hits him, you've wronged yourself. Allahumma inni zalamtu nafsi zulman kathira wa la yaghfiru dhunuba illa ant. Only Allah, only you forgive the sins. Faghfir li. So forgive me. Maghfiratan min indik. Forgiving from you, and warhamni, and have mercy on you. Innaka anta al-ghafur rahim. Because you are the forgiving, the merciful. You're asking Allah by His name, Al-Ghafur Ar-Rahim. So this is, Abu Bakr always said it. So after he do the Salawat Ibrahimiyya, and he may ask Allah to give him refuge from these four things, from hellfire, from the torment of the grave, from the tribulations of life and death, tribulation of false Messiah, then he would say that, Allahumma inni zalamtu nafsi dhulman kathiran, فاغفر وإنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت فاغفر لي وارحمني إنك أنت الغفور الرحيم. So, this is the minimum you should say. There are more ahadith. Say اللهم حاسبني حسابا يسيرا اللهم إني أعوذ بك من المأثم والمغرم. So all of these dua, when you have time, you say them. When you're alone, try to say them more. So this way, it's not about salah. It's not about, oh, you're saying that, you make ruku', you make sujood, salam, and you're done. You're getting connection with Allah. You get an open door here between you and Allah. You're doing nothing else. You're sitting there. There's nothing happening in life. There's no traffic. There's no work. There's no family. There's no bills to pay. It's you and Allah. What do you want from Him? Ask Him. This is your chance. وأمر عائشة رضي الله عنها أن تقول اللهم إني أسألك من الخير كله عاجله وآجله ما علمت منه وما لم أعلم. Long one, so we'll try to translate each part of it. He taught Aisha. Now this is the most beloved person to him, Aisha. We know that Amr ibn al-As, when he became a Muslim, Rasulullah sallam, he was one of the smart people in Jahiliyyah. Duhatul al-Arab arba'a. And one of them, the very top smart people, Arabs at that time, was Amr ibn al-As. Rasulullah he recognized that in him. So he started giving him positions of leadership. He was later on into Islam, not from the early generation. But then he started giving leadership, go to these people, advise these people, lead this expedition, and so on. So he started feeling that he loves him more than the rest of the Sahaba. So he wanted to test it one time. He said, who's the most beloved person to you? He said, Aisha. No, I mean from men. He said, her father. No. After Abu Bakr, yeah. So Umar. Who else? Uthman. Who else? And he started counting all the people who started, and he stopped. Okay. Yes, he loves you, but there are people he loves more. The people early on. So the first one, the name came to the tongue of Rasulullah, his wife Aisha. Then when he asked him from men, he said her father. So he now we know what he told Abu Bakr. Now what he told Aisha. He told her to say, Allahumma inni as'aluka min al-khayri kullih, ajilih wa ajilih, ma alimtu minhu wa ma lam a'lam. This is to ask Allah to give you everything good. Now, sooner or later. What you know, what you don't know of it, you as a human being. So, you want everything that is good. What is soon, what is late, what I know about, what I don't know about. Perfect. It's like you say, Allah, you know everything, give me the best. No. When it is now, it's later, I know about it, I don't know about it. وَأَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنَ الشَّرِّ كُلِّ عَاجِلِهِ وَآجِلِهِ مَا عَلِمْتُ مِنْهُ وَمَا لَمْ أَعْلَمْ. And on the other hand, ask Allah give you refuge from anything that's evil, whether it's soon or later, you know about it or you don't know about it. وأسألك وفي رواية اللهم إني أسألك الجنة وما قرب إليها من قول أو عمل وأعوذ بك من النار ما قرب إليها من قول أو عمل. And then ask Allah to grant you Jannah and everything get you closer to it, whether it's a word that you say or actions you do. And you ask refuge from hellfire, whatever leads to it from saying or doing. وأسألك الجنة وما قرب إليها من قول أو عمل وأعوذ بك من النار وما قرب إليها من قول أو عمل وأسألك من خير ما سألك عبدك ورسولك محمد وأعوذ بك من شر ما استعاذك منه عبدك ورسولك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. They ask Allah, so now if you forgot anything, say, everything good Rasulullah asked you, I want to ask you to grant it to me. Everything evil Rasulullah asked you to protect him from, I want you to protect me from it. So now you're going beyond what you know and everything. Okay, Rasulullah, he knew better than me, he asked for certain things, I want it also. He wanted refuge for certain things, I want that refuge. وَأَسْأَلُكَ مَا قَضَيْتَ لِي مِنْ أَمْرٍ أَن تَجْعَلَ عَاقِبَتَهُ لِي رُشْدًا. And I ask you, whatever you decree for me, the end result of it will be good for me. So, even if something that initially apparently looks negative to you, at the end you make everything turns in your favor. And we know, the believers, everything turns in his favor. If it is positive, you're happy, you thank Allah, so you got it, you'll be rewarded for being grateful. If it's something negative, you show perseverance and you'll be rewarded for your perseverance. So here the hadith is very inclusive. It's a longer dua. So you're going to say it in your sunnah, you're going to say it in Qiyamul Layl when you have time for it. So try to memorize it. So when you're making your dua, the final dua, before taslim, you have more variation, more things to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وقال لرجل ما تقول في الصلاة قال أتشهد ثم أسأل الله الجنة وأعوذ به من النار أما والله ما أحسن دندنتك ولا دندنة معاذ قال صلى الله عليه وسلم حولهما ندندن. So the hadith of that man who didn't know much about dua and Quran and so on, he knew the minimum in prayer, and when Mu'adh used to lead the prayer and pray long for him, he left him alone and prayed alone, and Mu'adh said, oh, this is a hypocrite, he leave me alone. They came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he asked him, why did you do it? He said he prays along with you, he comes and leads us, and he has a long prayer, and I don't understand what he's saying. I don't know what he's mumbling about. So it looks like his understanding of Arabic, his intellect was limited. So Rasulullah said, then what do you do in your salah? Then he told them that he makes the minimum dua, makes the tashahhud, and ask Allah protect him from hellfire to grant him Jannah. Say, this is what we are mumbling about. Ask Allah protect us from hellfire to grant us Jannah. So this is part of the dua. If you don't know another dua, you say, Allahumma inni as'aluka al-jannah wa a'udhu bika min al-nar. This is the best dua. At the end, this is what we want. وسمع رجلا يقول في تشهده اللهم إني أسألك يا الله، وفي رواية أسألك بالله الواحد الأحد الصمد الذي لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد أن تغفر لي ذنوبي إنك أنت الغفور الرحيم. فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم قد غفر له قد غفر له. He heard one of the men after his tashahhud, he would say, he used Surah Al-Ikhlas, قل هو الله أحد, say اللهم أسألك أنك أنت الواحد الأحد الصمد الذي لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد أن تغفر لي ذنوبي. I ask you by this, all of that, because you are alone, you are the one and so on, to forgive my sins. إنك أنت الغفور الرحيم. You are the forgiving, the merciful. Rasulullah said, He has forgiven him. Allah has forgiven him. That means the angel Jibreel told him, Allah has responded to him. So this is a dua. When you are mindful of the meanings of Surah Al-Ikhlas and you believe in it, you ask Allah with the names and attributes that is mentioned in that surah to forgive you, then forgiveness is coming.
So can you see the dua again?
نعم. اللهم إني أسألك يا الله الواحد الأحد الصمد قل والله أحد الله الواحد الأحد الصمد الذي لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد أن تغفر لي ذنوبي. Ask him for إنك أنت الغفور الرحيم. So he added two more names to him, الغفور الرحيم. So forgive my sins, you are the forgiving, the merciful.
Sheikh, very short definition of الصمد, Sheikh.
Yeah. So الصمد الذي تصمد له المخلوقات. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that everybody need him, depend on him, and he doesn't need or depend on anybody. So this is the most. Some ulama say samad, that it has no hollow. It's not like other creatures. It all has cavities and so on. But wallahu alam, the meaning is more inclusive about the big one, that everything depends on Allah, and Allah doesn't need anything. وسمع آخرا يقول في تشهده اللهم إني أسألك بأن لك الحمد لا إله إلا أنت وحدك لا شريك لك المنان يا بديع السماوات والأرض يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا حي يا قيوم إني أسألك الجنة وأعوذ بك من النار. So another one saying that dua, he mentioning a lot of the names of Allah. So he's mentioning that Allah لا إله إلا أنت, you are the only God. وحدك لا شريك لك, you have no associates. المنان, the one that you give. يا بديع السماوات, or the one who created heavens and earth. يا ذا الجلال والإكرام, that all the honor and nobility belongs to you. يا حي يا قيوم, ever living, in charge of everything. إني أسألك الجنة وأعوذ بك من النار. I ask you Jannah, protect me from hellfire. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لأصحابه تدرون بما دعا؟ قالوا الله ورسوله. قال والذي نفسي بيده لقد دعا الله باسمه الأعظم، وفي رواية الأعظم الذي إذا دعي به أجاب وإذا سئل به أعطي. So he said, and this is the biggest name of Allah that he asked with, that Allah will always respond to it. When you ask him something, he will grant it to you. Ask protection, he will protect you from that. So when you mention these names, a lot of people say Ismullah al-Azam, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-Hayyu al-Qayyum, that this is the biggest name. Or you can mention all of that because his name is mentioned in that. So just about that, Allah, the word Allah in Arabic means the only God. Allah in Arabic, al-ilah alladhi ta'lahuhu al-qulub, is the hearts are attached to it. The word God in English is a German, is about what people worship. It could be a stone, could be whatever it is. But Allah, ya'lah al-qalb, when the heart is attached to something you love, you fear, you hope for, this is what your heart get attached to. Ilah, anything that your heart is attached to. Allah is the only true one. Because people, they get their hearts attached to humans, the stones, to ideas and falls and so on. Saying Allah, the only true deity you worship, you love, you fear. So when you say Allah, and then you add to it, La ilaha illahu, there's no God, true God, to be worshipped, to have all this affection and connection to except Allah. And then you add the names of it, that He created heaven and earth. He's the ever living. He's the one in charge of everything. So you added all the names of Allah. So the biggest name is in them. You ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you'll be granted. This is what Allah wants from us. He has created us to worship Him. Worshipping Him, acknowledging His creation, acknowledging our connection to Him, acknowledging our responsibility to worship Him, to obey Him, and not to do things against His orders. And then when we mistake, when shortfall of our duties, we ask Him to forgive us, because we know He can punish us, but at the same time we hope for His mercy. He will have mercy on us. This is what Allah wants from us. He could punish us if every time somebody's done something wrong, a bolt of lightning hit them. People will be straight. They're not going to look right and left. They're going to do anything. We're not going to touch anything. A bolt of light hits them. Oh, I've seen it. We're not going to do that. No, Allah has given us chances. He will punish the evildoers occasionally. So, you know, it's not totally not in charge. But at the same time, He's telling us that true judgment in the hereafter. And this is a lot of the atheists don't understand. They say of this God, how He let the evildoers get away with it. Why a lot of innocent people are being punished and hurt, and the evildoers are still flourishing and they get power and so on. Allah promised that the final justice will be in the hereafter. In this life, everybody put in a trial, being on the good side or on the bad side, being the ones who have power or doesn't have power. And you can have good things happen to you, bad things happen to you. All of them are a test. Because it's not about you do right, you'll be rewarded right away in this life. You do wrong, you'll be punished right away in this life. Occasionally will do, so people will not forget and say, oh, I can get away with everything. Nothing happens. Allah will punish. But a lot of times Allah will let them in this life do whatever they want. بَلْ نُمْلِي لَهُمْ, Allah will give them and extend to them and see how far they will go with their evil. And then on the day of judgment, they will be punished. So this is the true judgment that comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So once you have that understanding and you keep your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you ask Him for guidance, ask Him for help, ask Him for forgiveness, you will get it. You die in a state of Iman. This is the winning. It's not about being in a top power position. It's not about being the healthiest, the wealthiest, the one who has more money, more family, more connection, more supported. It's not about that. At the end, we alone, we're going to be facing judgment with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The wife's not going to be there. The children are not going to be there. The employees, the supporters, not going to be there. The money, all the power, that is not going to be there. That person alone would be standing judgment in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is going to put his book of deeds, will open up, going to ask him for everything they've done. They're doomed. They're done. Then, if somebody has the intention to do right, and he's done his best to follow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, associated no part with Him, innovated none in this religion, tried his best not to hurt people, and he's done mistakes here and there and so on, Allah will go easy on him. That will wipe all his bad deeds. He'll open his book, and he find only good things in it. Then what he say? هَاؤُمُ اقْرَءُوا كِتَابِيَهْ. Say, oh, here, who wants to read my book? For us now, we don't want people to find our Google search results. We don't want anybody to find our secrets, our text messages, our photos. Because there's a lot of things that are private, some things that we might be publicly ashamed of. We don't want it to go in public. So who wants every minute of their life recorded and give it to people? Here, read what I've done since I was accountable for. I reached age of puberty, 12, 13, 14 years old, until I die. Who wants to read that? We don't want people to do that. So why would you do it? Because Allah has wiped everything bad in it. Hisaban yasira. Gone easy on you. So what is in it? Oh, he prayed, he was good to his parents, he was good in charity, he fasted, he read Quran, he came to Halaqa for ilm, he opened the door for a Muslim, he sent charity to people in need. Only good things in it. It's like when you see somebody applying in their resume, they only put the good things. They don't say about the courses they dropped, about the time they got traffic traffic violations and so on. They will not mention it. Only mention the good things. So this is how it's going to be. This is what we hope from Allah. This is what the salah is about. It's keep you connected to Allah. And this one, when you get mindful of it, then you achieve the goal of it. And we'll finish with taslim. So inshallah, we'll finish that part. There's also one dua, Allahumma ighfir li ma qaddamtu wa ma akhartu wa ma aslamtu wa ma asrartu wa ma a'lantu wa ma asraftu wa ma anta a'lamu bihi minni anta al-muqaddim wa anta al-mu'akhir la ilaha illa ant. Also a dua about asking Allah to forgive you for everything past and you've done before, you've done lately, things you put in secret or done in secret or done in public, and things that you transgressed in it, and what Allah knows more about it. Allah is the one that gives forward or backward. He knows about everything. La ilaha illa, there's no God but you. Asking Allah for forgiveness. And then you say as-salam. The first salam on the right side is rukn. It has to be done. On the left side, mustahab. Because there has been report of Rasulullah done one taslima. So if somebody says Salamu alaikum, the salah is done. You say on the other one on the right side, then this is mustahab.
Sir,
No.
where should one face when you uttering the word Assalamu alaikum?
So we'll say that. Now. وكان صلى الله عليه وسلم يسلم عن يمينه حتى يرى بياض خده الأيمن. So he turns his face to the right until people on the back can see the whiteness. Remember, he had a beard. So if he just slightly, they're not going to see his cheek. So once they see the skin of his cheek, that's when he says Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. So that's he will turn it right and left. So his cheek will appear. This is most common, but there's other narration. So he will say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is the most common one. Sometimes he says Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sometimes on the right he say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. On the left say Assalamu alaikum. Or he can say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So you can say always on the right minimum Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. On the left you can say Assalamu alaikum alone. On the right you can add to it Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. On the left, if you done that on the right, you'll do it on the left. وكان أحيانا يسلم تسليمة واحدة السلام عليكم تلقاء وجه يميل إلى الشق الأيمن شيئا قليلا. So the shortest ever, he say one salam, forward, turning slightly right, not all the way. So this is the minimum. Assalamu alaikum. So this is the shortest possible. Let's say the imam is about making iqamah and you want to hurry up. The shortest that you can do, you've done. You say التحيات التشهد الصلوات الإبراهيمية. You don't say any of the other dua. Assalamu alaikum. You stand up to catch takbirat al-ihram with the imam. Or the same thing in the khutbah al-jum'ah. When you come, the imam is making khutbah. You're not supposed to sit down until you pray 2 rak'ah. You make it the shortest possible. Shortest possible, you don't say 2 taslim. Say 1 taslim. If you do it 1 taslim, it's forward, slightly to the right. Assalamu alaikum. That's it. That's enough.
While I was asking this question, I had a scholar mention that by the time you turn in this way, you're already out of the salah. So he said you should say it first, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, then we turn. So that's why, because it was something new to me.
Yeah. It hasn't mentioned that it has you start first and then you say it to the words. You have leeway. You can start Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Most people start as they turning. So nobody will wait until they like this and then say Assalamu alaikum. I haven't seen anybody does that. They will turn all the way right and after they're done, they say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. If they done it, it hasn't been mentioned. So the mentioning, that's why Sallam will say Assalamu alaikum and turn his head. So most likely he starts as he's moving. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So it's a motion. Dhikr intiqal. It's not fixed in one position. You have to fix in one position, then you say it. You say it as you're going. So inshallah, just finishing the description of the salah.
في من يسلم على الإدارة كأن يهز رأسه السلام عليكم
Yeah. Bending the head down, up and down has not been mentioned. It's all about turning right, turning left. This is probably more of a habit rather than ibadah. So one, if he has this habit, he should break this habit. It's not part of the sunnah. So we don't say, so bud'ah, when it's intentional and it's meant to be a way to worship Allah and to get rewarded by Allah for that action. For somebody done it as a habit, he doesn't think this is part of sunnah, I get more reward if I shake my head, but became like part of him. A lot of the cultures, part of the being respectful to shake their head up and down. So that's become a habit for them. They're not thinking of it as, oh, this is part of the salah. But if somebody done it, try to be mindful that it's not part of the salah to shake your head. وإياكم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
الله أكبر الله أكبر.